Hey, so issue number 2 and how to fight outrageous attorney's fees in Florida probate cases. One of the quotes that I use frequently is something that happened early on in my career. I'd been fighting back and forth with this attorney. He's still around. I've fought with him and had good cases with him over and over again because this incident occurred long, long ago when we were baby lawyers early in our career. And there was this case, clients were fighting, one brother fighting another brother and a sister in the middle, and they went back and forth and back and forth. And at the end of the day, the other lawyer had a really hefty attorney's fee bill, and that only sought to inflame these even more. These siblings have been fighting for months and years in this probate case, and then along comes this probate bill. And let me tell you something, the attorney's fee bill was big, and my client was even more pissed than they were previously, if that was possible. And I remember walking into the hearing, and it was down in Clearwater, and the other attorney's out there, and we were doing our deal out in the hallway, and that's all fine, collegial, professional, etc. And we walked into this hearing room, and the hearing proceeds and goes along, and the judge is kind of flipping through and looking at things. And I will never forget this exact quote from the judge. Judge is still around, and every time I see him, I remind him of this quote. He looks through the attorney fee bill, and he looks over at the other lawyer, and he looks back at me, and he says, "Mr. Weidner, maybe your problem is you're not charging enough in attorney's fees." And I kind of sat back for a little bit and thought about that. And obviously I've thought a lot about that in the 20 plus years since that judge uttered those words. And there was a lesson in that. It's a lesson I carried my entire career, and that is this: at every step in litigation, we as the attorney must be communicating with our client about the risks, the benefits, and the costs involved in litigation. And the truth that was exposed in that comment from the judge was that if you're going to fight over attorney's fees, if you got a problem, you better start thinking about it early on. No matter what side of the fight you're on, your attorney had better be communicating with you that there is a cost involved here. The cost could be worth it if you win. If the conduct on the other side is particularly egregious, then maybe that cost-benefit analysis really makes sense. But in some cases, people are fighting just because they want to fight, and that happens in probate cases. Why? Well, and sometimes it's found money. We hear over and over again, "I'd rather give you, the attorney, all the money than have that rotten scoundrel, my brother, get any of it." I don't like that comment. I don't want you to rather pay me rather than put more money in your pocket or put more money in your brother's pocket. If you don't like that, let's give it to a charity. But the bottom line is this: if you are fighting in a probate case, there are going to be costs involved. One of the key things that you have to do early on if you're involved in a contested probate is take stock of those attorney's fee issues. Then if we start to see that things are ramping up on the other side, start to see some outrageous litigation, there are very specific technical tricks, tools, and rules that must be deployed early on in order to preserve that attorney fee fight. That's number one at the beginning. Easiest way is the nuclear bomb at the end when that big fat attorney's fee bill comes in. If it's particularly outrageous, there are real ways to pick that bill apart, fight it. And then there's one very specific tool that can be deployed that can wipe out an entire attorney's fee claim. It has to do with some rules that attorneys must follow in order to perfect their claim for attorney's fees. Oftentimes it's not done properly, and I deploy these tools often in order to come and really even out the scales for that client, particularly one that's been abused by a more powerful sibling or the personal representative. They get in there, they get a little big for their britches. Sometimes they're unsophisticated. They get taken advantage of by their own attorney. And then I come in, swipe away those attorney's fees, and put more on the table for everyone. So if you're concerned about attorney's fees, get in the fight early and make those presentations and objections known.